Hey y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 22, and I am Jason, owner of Outdoor Legacy, one of your co-hosts, and I've got my buddy and co-host Hans from the HansETX YouTube channel with me tonight. What's going on, man?
Yeah, that's right. If you're looking for episode 22, you have found the right episode and you're listening to the right two guys, Jason and Hans here. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the very nice intro. It seems like I always give you some type of jab when I intro you. So, and you're always so
Yeah,
nice when you intro me. So,
that's
uh,
just the kind of guy that I am, and that's
you
just the kind
are.
of guy you are. You know,
I
I
know
think I
you
think
are.
our listeners know that by now. I'm kidding.
Oh,
Well,
what?
look, you had another celebrity guest that you were
Uh,
hunting with this week, didn't you?
Well, if you ask him, that's not the case. But yeah, we had James with the Guns and Chicken Strips channel. Man, I tell you, he's out in East Texas a lot hunting, and for with a lot of different people. But this is actually his third time to come down. And when I say East Texas, I know I'm gonna get you and others talking about, but Northeast Texas, in between Canton and Tyler area. And he came out and hunted with me the weekend. We had a great time. Him and I are very like-minded when it comes to hunting because we love to relax and we like to shoot some hogs. So what we do is we will set up the game cameras, the Texan game cameras, and we will kick back in a couple of camo recliners for a couple hours and wait for those cameras to start pinging off. So we did that. We had a buddy of ours out near Lindale, Ty Nichols, that invited us so graciously and nicely, asked us to come out and hunt his place while he is out of town working. Can you believe that? Gave us
Man,
access to the whole
he,
thing.
he's a nicer guy than I am.
Yeah, I mean, letting two guys come out and hunt his hogs, kill his hogs, and he didn't even get a chance to be there. But we ended up. I tell you, it's been kind of a weird time right now. I don't know if it's the weather change or what, but hogs just haven't been moving a whole heck of a lot. But we were able to drop a couple hogs. Got a good size hog, somewhere in around 250-pound range. Was able to drop him, made a great video. We had a good time. James and I always have a good time. He likes to cut up. I like to cut up. And it's like I said, we're like-minded when it comes to hunting because we do like to relax and we like to get out and shoot some hogs and shoot guns. We did a lot of that. He brought a brand new Ruger Mark 422 rifle pistol out that he got, and we got to shoot that thing during the day. And man, I've got a lot of gunpowder fumes in my lungs because we shot so many guns.
Well, you
But
talk about this relaxing hunting, and I've heard all these stories from you and James about that. And then every time I come up and we go hunting, I see the easy chairs in there. I mean, the
yeah,
nice camo recliners, but I don't get to use those much because you're dragging me all around, walking up and down spider web trails and snakes, and
yeah.
and I don't know. I don't know why I don't get
Well,
that same treatment.
I made him get out and walk around too, so he got a
Okay.
chance to walk. But we definitely, man, I tell you, about 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, man, I am just beat. And
In the morning? Oh,
yeah, in the
I'm
morning.
out by then. I'm
I
gone.
mean,
No, 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 no.
we were driving back, back to the camp house where he was staying, man, I was just zoned out. He's like, "Man, are you tired?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm okay." But boy, I'll tell you, I was ready to get home. And I know when I get home that late, my wife, we have a standing understanding where if I get home that late, I go right to the couch. I don't even try to mess with getting a shower and getting in bed. Man, I go right to the couch, and I always get woke up about 6 and 7 in the morning by a
Hmm.
little girl saying, "Daddy, Daddy, can I watch videos?"
Ah,
So no, we had a great time. It was good to have him out, and look forward to having him out and getting a chance to hunt with a lot more folks. So
well, good. Well, I tell you, I can't do the late night. I'm a late night guy. I'm a night owl. I mean, hey, this is the Late Night Vision Show, and it is late. By the time you and I get this wrapped up and get everything done, it's going to be midnight tonight. So I'm a late night guy. I rarely go to bed before 1 o'clock in the morning. But that after that 2 a.m. Anytime after that, it's just getting too close to sunrise for me. I get wore out in a hurry, and if I do make it, I can probably stay up but I'm beat that next day. It might have been when I was 20, I might could have done it, but now that I'm a matter of days away from the big 4-0, it's my age is catching up with me, so I can't do
Well,
those late nights.
I want to take a moment to brag on my pulsar scope a little bit too, because I'm a
Oh, I've heard this story. Yeah, dude,
yeah.
tell the folks about this. I was nervous not for your pulsar scope, but for you.
So I got invited to go on on one of these top drive hunting rigs, where you're steering and driving the thing from up on top of a lift, and there's four seats in the very top. It looks like a Tahoe that has kind of the back end cut off where to make a bed of a truck, but it's got this whole lift on top. So anybody, if you say top drive hunting rigs, with pig hunting, pretty much a lot of people know what they are. So I got invited to go out with a couple buddies, and they wanted to give me the experience. Never been on one before, and I should have known that there's two seats in the front, one driver, the passenger, and then two seats in the back. Well, my buddy Blake said, "Hey, Hans, you can sit up front." I thought he was being nice, let me, where I could see better and use the binocular. Well, now I know why he told me I could sit up front, because man, I got beat to death. And I'm going to tell you, and the guy driving, he did a good job, and we're off roading, going through trails, going through pastures, and it was just a mess. But he did a good job. I can't blame him. But he ran that thing off into a ditch. And when I say a ditch, I mean the front bumper hit the bottom of the ditch, and
Oh,
I went flying. Um, Rifle hit me in the face. I felt it sounded like I had crushed my scope, my Pulsar Trail
oh.
XP50, into about 5,000 pieces. It hit me, like I said, the rifle hit me in the chin. My shin hit the rail. I mean, it was a car. It felt like a car accident,
But the
and
rifle scope, the scope hit the rail though, right? You slammed it up against the
so
rifle.
yeah, the scope hit the rail, and gosh dang it, man, I got my first scratch on my Diamondback 6.5 Creedmoor, but
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. It's a hunting rig. That's what it's supposed to do. So
yeah.
it's like that first scratch on your brand new truck, though. It's like, oh, it hurts, but it's all right. Those are battle scars. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it was a great experience to be on and to do, and really cool. We shot hogs off of it, but man, it was I kind of took a little bit of a beating there. But so to brag on the scope, I thought there's no way that this thing is still on zero. Um, so when chicken strips came out, the first thing I wanted to do was to sight it in. I was like, hey, I need to resight this thing in. I know it's got to be off. I banged it probably harder than I've ever banged a scope before. And I tell you what, man, I sat on a picnic table with my tripod. Downrange, we got a 100-yard steel target, and I aimed at that 3-inch steel target at 100 yards and pinged it on the first
Good.
shot. And I mean, I tell you, it was dead on. And man, I was kind of beaming with pride at that moment. Not because I'm a great shot, but because my scope took such a lick and stayed on zero. Didn't have to mess with it or adjust it at all. And I've been shooting hogs with it since then. And I'm telling you, it's so great job, Pulsar, man. What a great scope. What a great
Well,
manufacturer.
it's also a good testament to that mount. I mean, you're using the
Absolutely.
Pulsar QD mount, and I mean, obviously something could get banged around in that
Yeah.
scope enough to change. I mean, it is digital, the crosshairs and all, but you hit it that hard, anything could move. But that mount took the lick too, because that
Yeah.
scope's got those three screws in there, and
Hmm.
anything could happen. So that's good to know. Well, speaking of your rifle being off and all that kind of thing, or your scope being off, I am more than a little bit frustrated right now. But before the taping of this show, and Hans doesn't know this whole story. All he knows is that I texted him and said I'm going to be late. I was getting everything ready so we could come record, and I scanned my pasture and I saw a big hog down there eating corn at about 200 yards. I've got a pig pipe down there, PVC pipe with corn in it, and I'm also hand throwing corn out there. The deer eating that, and the hogs seem to be rolling around the pig pipe. I've been having really good luck with that recently, and so I've seen this hog a couple times. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same hog, and I just have not had the opportunity to get on him. It's always been something. He's by the time I get ready, he's gone. He's running off. He's just leaving. Other night, I saw him down there, and he was rolling that pipe around, and I saw two coons come out. They came, kind of trotting across the pasture there, and I have no idea, but that hog looked like those coons were, had thermal scopes. I mean, he took off running from those coons. I've never seen anything like it, but he was gone. And so tonight I looked out there. I was getting ready to come up here and record, and I'm like, oh man, there's that hog. He's down there at that pipe. I'm gonna go get him. Let's go do this. So I geared up. I put back on my old jeans and my old clothes, and I get everything ready. And Hans knows this. It's a chore. I mean, by the time you get everything in tripods and you've got to assume you're gonna kill him. So you get your camera, and I get a camera tripod. I get all this gear, and I take off down there, and I get about probably 40 yards away, and I get ready, and he didn't see me. But he just slowly, like he's done eating corn, he just slowly starts walking, and he's paralleling me there. I get set up on him, and I'm thinking, well, I need to get a little more footage before I shoot. Well, he turns and starts walking off. And I'm like, okay, waiting and waiting and waiting. He doesn't turn back. He's just got his rear end to me, walking away just slowly. So I just pick up my tripod. I'm using those, Gen 3 trigger sticks, and I start walking forward. And I'm blind. I'm just walking, and I stop and I look, and it's like we're walking at the same speed because he's the same distance but further. And I'm like, golly. And to be clear here, I could shoot this hog 10 times. I mean, I could shot him in the rear end. I wasn't going to do that, but he's not too far to shoot. I just want to be close. I mean, I want to get up on him, be a good video. He's a good size hog. So eventually he gets down there, and he's probably at about 60 yards, and he's still walking away. And I'm like, this is getting futile. So I just start grunting. And I mean, I'm sure I sounded like some sort of a wounded pig. Who knows? But I'm grunting around there, and finally I get louder and louder. Finally he turns. I see him throw his nose up near, and he grunts. And I can tell he's looking for whatever that is. And he turns broadside. Man, I took what I felt like was just a chump shot, an easy headshot, and he didn't really do much. He kind of just ran, and I took what I felt was like another pretty good body shot. He ran, keeps running. He kind of slows down. I shoot again. May not have hit him that shot. I'm not sure. So I go back and watch the video, and I'm like, surely this hog's fixing to go down. He hadn't looked like it yet. He got all the way over there to the edge of my pasture. He got to the barbed wire fence, and he kind of stopped. And at this point, he's probably 100, maybe 120 yards. I put it right on him and lobbed one in there thinking this is going to put him down. Went right underneath the fence. I never found him. Went over there, looked. I didn't crawl off in the brush. It was thick where he went into. But I looked all over with the thermal, couldn't find him. And I was just extremely frustrated. I mean, this hog is my guess is he's pushing 200 pounds if he's not over. And it was one of those things where you just start questioning everything. And it's like, is the scope off? Is it bad ammo? Am I a bad shot? How did I screw this up time after time? And I don't think the scope's off, but now I've got to go shoot it to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
And so
there's nothing worse than taking a hit to your confidence, though. Going out and it really, and next time you line up for a shot, Jason, it's going to be running through your head, and
sure it is.
That's the tough part. But
and it was just the other night. I mean, same rifle, same scope, same setup, same everything. I go down there, and I dropped I don't know what it was, probably a 110 pound boar, and it's just like nothing's changed. So it is, and I know I tell that story. A lot of guys don't like to tell the stories about when they missed or when they didn't kill him or when they ran off, but I'm just being honest. I'm frustrated because it's just, and Hans knows this in our business. A video of shooting a hog and him running off does us no good. so far, nobody has ever commented on YouTube and said, "Hey, show me more of those videos where you shoot and probably miss the hog and he runs off." So
the hog running off. I know, and that drives me crazy. Well, that was one thing that we probably need to discuss moving forward, and one thing that I want to talk about on a future show is is the 6.5 Creedmoor a good hog hunting round? And we probably need to throw in what you're using, which is a 300 Blackout, and talk about that in the future, because there's some questions around those rounds as far as are they good hog hunting rounds, or are they the best that you can get for dropping hogs right away? And like you said, nobody wants to see a video of a hog running off.
No, no, I've got those. If they
But
want to see those, they're available.
I've got a treasure trove full of them too. But hey, today we're going to be talking about the question of, now we're coming up on deer season. The deer hunters are getting excited. You see their trucks loaded up with corn and all their rigs to go out and start getting ready. And I've got a couple buddies that I know that have reached out to me, and this has even happened to myself, where I've got a landowner that said, "Hey, for the next 3 months, man, you're going to have to stay off there. You can't be hog hunting out there because I don't want you to scare off the deer. I've got people leasing it." And, so the question is, are the hog hunters out there that are hunting on land, are they scaring off the deer for these deer hunters that are preparing all this time and energy and effort to get a big buck in? So, Jason, I'm going to throw that question to you first, because we may have a little bit of a difference of opinion, and I hope that it's a little bit controversial. I hope we get a good mix of deer hunters and hog hunters comment on this. So, what's your take on it?
Well, I like that you just threw me to the wolves to go first. I don't
I
get
always have to go
to.
first.
I know I don't get to hear what you're going to say and then judge my response. All right. First off, I'm a deer hunter. I've been a deer hunter much longer than I've been a hog hunter, because we've had deer here for longer than we've had hogs. I mean, we might have always had hogs, but not in the numbers we do now. So I grew up deer hunting from a little boy, and I love it. The older I get, the more that I find. The old saying, "I'm not as mad at him as I used to be," because and it's a funny thing talking about deer hunting. I'll tell this: I've got a good friend of mine that our dads were best friends, and he and I have been. We've again grown up together, grown up hunting together, and we used to always say, "Tell you what, we are never going to be like our dads. Our dads, they'll take us, but they fall asleep in the deer stand, and they don't even want to clean one. All they do is they just go out there and take us, but they don't care about it. We're never going to be like them."
Yeah.
And now that he and I are older and got our own kids, we're both staring at each other, going, "We've turned into our dads." So yeah, but again, I'm taking my kids, and so that's a lot of fun, and we get to experience it. It's more fun to take them and get out there than it is for you to do it yourself. We've all had those experiences. So I know that's a little side topic, but that is why we're out here doing a lot of this stuff. Is not just for us, but the future generations. So with that said, I am a big deer hunter. I've killed a lot of deer, and I really enjoy it. And I used to, especially back in my bow hunting days before I had kids, I was a very serious bow hunter. I got to the point I didn't even rifle hunt anymore. Only hunted with my bow, and I was pretty religious about the things that I did. Scent control, not going into areas. Maybe going in there and putting out a feeder or a camera on a trail and staying out of there and just being very, very cautious. And I think that over the years, I found out it mattered. How much that mattered was different in the different areas that I was hunting. And if it's a place that had traffic, that there was, I say traffic, I mean that there's people driving through there during the year, whether it's rangers, four wheelers, mules, loggers. It's a county road, whatever it is. Sometimes those places had more people going in and out, noises and those things, and some places that there's nobody there except October through December. So now I promise this is not just a deer hunting story. I'm going to get to the hogs. So with that said, I used to be extremely, I didn't want to do anything around there that might spook a big buck. And so I'm still cautious, but I am not where I used to be, because I will tell you that now I will go out in my pasture in the middle of November during the rut at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and have no problem sighting in a thermal scope, and then going down there within 200 yards of that target, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and sitting on a deer stand. I just I just have no issues with that. Shooting from the deer stand, I have no issues with it. I mean, I'm not. I'm just making the comment. It just doesn't bother me anymore because I've, living on this property over all these years and just seeing these deer cross my pasture, and I just don't think it bothers them. They get used to it. We hear shooting year round. I mean, if I'm not shooting, somebody else is shooting. I've got a neighbor, over here on the, 2 or 3 thousand acres next to us, and I'll hear them shooting. I'll hear somebody on a Sunday afternoon sound like they got full auto. And so, with that said, if we're talking about does the shooting, does the hog hunters, does all that scare out the deer? I'm going to say it depends. You can obviously tell I'm leaning towards no, but I will tell you this. I'm talking about pastures. I'm talking about big open areas where there is activity. There's tractors, there's cow, there's a lot of that stuff going on. But going down there, going back in the deep woods, going to where there's not a lot of traffic during the year, there's not a lot of noises and people and that stuff going on, I'm going to be more cautious. If I get a big buck in there on camera, I'm probably not going to go down there beating around all the time. I'm not going to go down there and sight in my rifle. But I would say that there is a chance that I would go in there and shoot a hog in the middle of the night. And I'm going to let you talk here in just a minute, Hans, because I think you're probably going to maybe agree with this point, is that hogs can run out the deer. And I have seen that. And if you run deer cameras on corn feeders or corn piles, and you have hogs and you have deer, you will see that happen. You will see deer there eating, and then you'll see hogs come in and the deer hightailing it out of there, and they're gone. And the hogs stay there till they eat every kernel of corn. And so if I get to a point like that, yeah, I'll go down there. I'll take my chances, because what's going to happen is those hogs are going to figure out the pattern, and they're going to get down there and they're going to keep all the deer off the feeder, and then I'm back to to square one. And one more thing before I kick this to you, I want to say I understand that not everybody that listens to this podcast is a deer hunter. Not everybody listens to this podcast is a hog hunter. A lot are coyote hunters and varmint hunters. And so you may be going, this doesn't apply to me. There's also going to be a lot of guys that are deer hunters but aren't allowed to bait where they're at. But I know in Texas and a lot of the South, you are allowed to bait and put out corn. So we're talking about Texas. For some guy who's listening to this going, well, that's illegal. Well, it could be in your state, but in Texas, we've got so many corn feeders that sometimes I think the throw patterns overlap. There's corn from one feeder blowing up underneath another guy's feeder. So what do you think? I mean, that's just my basic overview. I've got some more thoughts I'm going to chime in, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think that was a good non-answer. No, I'm giving you a hard time.
I know I tried. I was waiting to see what you say.
Yeah. So, the reason why, one of the reasons why, obviously with coming up on deer season and deer season open, and bow season's already open, coming up on rifle season not that long from now. Like I said, this personally happened to me on a piece of property actually owned by a family member. Thanks very much. But
not naming any names.
I'm not naming any names. But and also had a couple guys reach out to me. One of them was in Florida that he has permission to hog hunt on a lease. And he was told during deer season that he had to stay off for the next few months for the deer hunters. And he said that 2 weeks after they told him to stop coming out and shooting hogs, that they've asked him to come back and start shooting hogs at night, because the deer are running all the hogs, or I'm sorry, the hogs are running all the deer off and eating all the corn.
Right.
And the place that I got asked to kind of stay away from for the next few months, same thing. It's it was a place that I shot a lot of hogs. There's a lot of hog activity. Every night there was hogs coming in, going after corn, and it's just going to get completely overrun. Now, I, I think we can agree on one thing, and that's a lot of times when I'm out in the field, I always see deer. And I pay a lot of attention to the deer when I'm hog hunting because a lot of times you will know if there's a hog coming into a field by looking at the deer, because that deer will look around, they'll look suspicious, they'll look antsy, and then they'll blow out. And
Mhm.
um, that's, to me, that's a good indication. I'm always looking at deer and their uh, body language and how their mannerisms. So we can agree in the fact of if there's a hog anywhere around, those deer are going to run off. Are they going to run off to the next county? Probably not. But I think, especially for those of you that are allowed to bait and you're baiting for deer, like Jason said, you're going to be attracting more and more hogs into that piece of property or wherever you're baiting. Now, I've hog hunted many times. Many times I walk next to a deer and they don't even look at me, within 10, 15 yards of a deer, and they don't even care at night. I've got video, and I think we've all probably have video, but I've got video of me shooting a hog about 20 to 30 yards away from a deer, and the deer barely even looked up when I fired the rifle. And the hog dropped and died, was squealing, making a bunch of noise, and that hog could have cared, or I'm sorry, that deer could have cared less. So, I do. One thing you said that I want to agree with also is environment. The environment that an animal's in. If they're used to hearing a lot of noise, a lot of road noise, I think that they're not going to be scared off by hearing somebody drive up with a truck or somebody riding around on a four wheeler, or there being more activity. I think if you go out in more remote areas, yeah, they're probably going to be a little bit more sensitive to that, into that kind of stuff. But around here, a lot of places that I see, a lot of people that I know that are out hunting, it's usually in higher trafficked areas. They're hearing lots of, I mean, the main interstate that connects Louisiana and Texas runs right basically through our town. So, I mean,
Right.
they're one of the properties that I've hunted kind of, I mean, it's less than a mile from the interstate. They're hearing road noise all the time. So they don't seem too affected by that. And even the hogs, you can pretty much just drive up on them. I've driven up on them with a truck and on a four wheeler, and it doesn't really phase them. But the reason why I want to address this and talk about this a little bit is because I think that um, just kicking off the hog hunters off of these deer leases, just because the idea that feeling that you're going to scare off my deer if you're trudging through there at night and shooting hogs. And I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think if you kick them off, you're going to just have just a ton of hogs coming in, eating all your corn and running off your deer. And, so it's kind of like, which is worse, people walking around and shooting hogs every now and then and keeping them thinned out, or just having hordes and hordes of hogs coming in and scaring off your deer that way. And,
Okay.
to me,
I'm
just to me real quick, I just think that there's a balance between letting hog hunters hog hunt at night and killing and weeding out those hogs and keeping them away from of your corn, rather than keep kicking them out completely. So that's my opinion on it, and that's kind of how I feel. And it might be because I'm a little bit bitter because I got kicked off a property for the next few months. But I'm hoping to get a call saying, "Hey, come back and kill all these hogs," because I know there's a bunch.
Well, okay, so listening to what you had to say there, I think that a lot of good points. But something you said, now we're just being honest here, and you and I didn't talk about this before, so I didn't know what you were going to say. But being honest, I have to admit, I mean, when you're telling this story, I'm thinking of myself as a deer hunter, putting myself in that position, and I have to admit that while yes, I don't mind going out there and hunting hogs in my pasture where I'm also going to deer hunt. I told you that I'm not necessarily going to go way back there in the woods
Mm.
where we don't go that much. I'm probably not going to be down there sighting my rifles. I might kill a hog if I had to, but when I hear this, I was trying to put myself in that guy's position of being the deer hunter on the lease. and I can see now. I sympathize. I gave you the scenario of me doing it on my own land, or my,
Mm-hmm.
it is my own land, but if it was my lease, if I was doing it's one thing. I don't know that I want every, Tom, Dick, and Harry coming out there tromping around where I'm going to deer hunt. You know what I'm getting at? So
No, yeah,
it's a double standard.
it is.
So I can now, I go, okay, yeah, I can go do it, but that doesn't mean I want you to go
Yeah.
do it. And I'm not being selfish. I'm just being, well, maybe I'm being selfish, but I'm being honest. I can see the rub there
Mm-hmm.
that, you're going out there and you're trying to do some scent control and to be careful and to, not scare off this big buck. And then you've got, who knows? I mean, somebody that you may not even know coming through there at night and doing who knows what. I can see that rub. The other thing to think about, and I do understand this, is that hunting leases in Texas, and I really don't care where you're at in Texas, they're not cheap.
Mm.
It's more expensive in some places than others, but uh, you know, it is. They're not cheap, and so I understand if a guy says, "I'm paying this kind of money, I don't want anybody else out here doing anything." If I
Yeah.
want to go shoot hogs, fine. If I want my buddy to, fine. If we don't want to, I get it. So I guess I see both sides of it, but I do think that on places that have a major hog problem, which that place that you got kicked off of, I've been to that place. It has one of the worst hog problems I've ever seen. I don't really understand how they can go 3 months putting out corn, baiting
Oh
for the
no.
deer, and I just don't know how it's going to be possible
Yeah.
because there are so many hogs in that area. It is, if I hear people say a place is infested, that place is infested with hogs,
Right.
and just putting all that corn out, baiting them and not shooting them, it's going to be a disaster in about 45 days.
It's going to be a
So
mess. Yeah.
now I'm going to tell you something. This is well, hey, hang on. What about this? So the one thing I would say that is a maybe would change this, my opinion a little bit, is if you've had hog hunters out there and they've been out there, January through September, and they've been out there tromping around and hunting and killing hogs, then again, I'm gonna kind of play, devil's advocate on the hog hunter side here and say, so what changed? That
Mm.
big buck has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
He didn't
Exactly.
just show up
Right.
because it was October 1st and hunting season started. And yes, we do know that deer move in and out of the area and, the rut and all that. But the point I'm making is are they not used to that? I mean,
Yeah.
that pressure and that noise and that shooting and that banging around has been going on for the other, 9 months of the year. So
Yeah.
what's the difference if it happens in October, November, December? So that's
Well,
maybe devil's advocate.
and I'm going to say, I think this is a debate that people on both sides are going to be very passionate about.
Sure.
And I think and I think there's good points on both sides from a deer hunter's perspective, which I deer hunted a lot when I was young. I don't do it much anymore. But I can understand the deer hunters, especially the ones that are spending a lot of money to go out and deer hunt. And they don't want anybody to scare their deer off. And there is something to be said too from the hog hunter's perspective with controlling the population of hogs and getting them run out and hogs running off the deer, because I think there's one thing that is not debatable. We were talking about, is it debatable that people are going to, coming in and out all the time and shooting at night is going to scare off deer? Is that, that is debatable. What is not debatable is that hogs are going to run off deer 100% of the time.
Right.
And so that's there is a lot to say on it on both sides, and hopefully, this kind of sparked a little bit of something inside of y'all out there, on either side. If you're a deer hunter, a hog hunter, if you're both, we'd love to hear from you. Jason and I would both love to hear from you on this topic. Please reach out to us. You can email us at the late night vision show at gmail.com. Please email us if you have, any comments on this topic. If you're a deer hunter, a hog hunter, or both. Also, please, you can call us too, and we'd love to hear your voice. And we might be using your call on a future show, but you can call us at 903-833-4461. And we'd love to hear your opinion on that as well, because I think we're going to get a lot of them. Jason, what do you think?
I think so, and I think I know which way most people are going to lean. But so in my summary, I would say this: the more I've sat here and thought about it, the more conflicted I've become. So my summary is: it's okay for me to do it on my place, but I don't want you to do it on mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's tough. It's a good one. I think we could talk about it for a long time. We're never gonna solve it, but I think it boils down to, if it's your land, you make the decision. If it's your hunt and lease, y'all vote on it and decide. But I do think, even if you kick the hog hunters off for October through December, I'm not saying I blame you, but you better be inviting those guys back out on January 1 or whenever, whatever state you're in, whenever the deer hunting season's over. You better get them back in there and try to, get some of those fat hogs killed, because they've been eating all that corn. You've been fattening them up. So, well, I tell you what, it's been a good show. It is a good topic. And like Hans said, call, leave us a message. We're not going to answer the phone. It goes straight to voicemail. We would love to hear your voice and hear what you have to say on it. If you've got opinions or any experience with that, just let us know. I know there's a lot more that we could say about it. In closing the show up, if you never want to talk about any night vision or thermal, it's getting that time of year. The phone's starting to ring off the hook. If you have questions, you don't know what to buy, you don't know, which scope, or maybe you think you do, and you just want some confirmation, give me a call. The number is 877-350-1818. You can always find me at outdoorlegacygear.com. Also, if you call and I don't answer, leave a voicemail, please. Today, the phone was ringing off the hook, and I could not get to them fast enough. And I always hate it when somebody doesn't leave a message, because I'm like, what did they want? Did they need something or not? So leave me a message, and I'll call you back quick as I can. You can find me.
I think I called you about 8 times trying to get a hold of you to talk
did,
about the show, and every time I got to call you back.
I did, and then I didn't call you back. I know, I felt terrible. It was a crazy day. So that's a good thing, though. Yeah, it's getting to be that time of year. So, but also you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube just by searching for Outdoor Legacy or Outdoor Legacy Gear, and I am there. Hans, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so this week I'm putting out a video on YouTube. You can find me at it's HansETX, or HansETX. I'm putting out a video about the brand new Diamondback 6.5 Creedmoor that I've been hunting with. I've got a bunch of hog and a couple coyote kills on there. Going to be showing that, so I'm excited, and looking forward to showing it off and getting everybody a chance on YouTube to see it. You can find me on Instagram at HansETX, same thing, HansETX. And as always, we appreciate you checking out the show. I hope that this topic today has sparked a lot of debate amongst a lot of people, because I know with you and I, it has. We've talked about it before, and I think we'll continue to talk about it. But appreciate y'all listening to the show. For Jason and I, we're going to sign off. We'll see y'all next week.